We don't,
Because after the regular meeting tomorrow.
Tony, we gotta hurry this up, man. Hungry.
Yes, I agree. No, yeah, we'll definitely talk about that. All right, thank you, Christian. I
you
appreciate
guys still
it.
going to closed session?
Thanks for getting that.
We got away from Bill.
Oh, all right, good. I'm not last. Sorry.
Anybody feel it coming out?
Please stand for a moment of silence and salute to the flag. Pledge allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Adequate notice of this meeting was provided to the Cranford Chronicle, advertised on January 16, 2015. Notification was sent to the Star Ledger and prominently posted on the municipal public bulletin board and filed in the office of the municipal clerk, informing the public of the time and place according to provisions of the Open Public Meeting Law, Chapter 231, PL 1975. Please silent to cell phones. Roll call, Ms. Ariano.
Mayor Lombardo?
Here.
Councilman Martin?
Here.
Councilman Matthews?
Here.
Councilman Petrozelli?
Here.
Councilwoman Tarantino?
Here.
Councilman Tedisco?
Here.
And Council President Neerstedt?
Here.
Minutes, please, Ms. Ariano.
Regular meeting of the mayor and council held on March 24, 2015. Executive session of the mayor and council held on March 24, 2015. Workshop session of the mayor and council held on March 24, 2015.
Are there any corrections or changes? Hearing none, may I have a motion to accept the minutes as presented?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as presented, Mayor.
Do I have a second? Second. All in favor? Ms. Ariemo, communications, please.
New Jersey State League of Municipalities Mayor's Tax Advisory.
Received and filed.
New Jersey Assemblyman Ought.
Received and filed.
Township of Union Resolution.
Received and filed.
Garwood Planning Board Minutes.
Received and filed.
Garwood Board of Health Minutes.
Received and filed.
Garwood Celebrations Committee Minutes.
Received and filed.
And Rory Valley Sewage Authority Meeting Notice.
Received and filed. Ms. Ariemo, please read ordinance 15-09 by title only.
An ordinance to amend 2137, schedule of residential preferred permit parking zone in, I don't know, maybe that's, anybody know, 14?
Yes.
14.
Thank you, 14. Residential preferred permit parking in chapter 21, vehicle and traffic, to amend 21-8, 2-hour parking in article 1, traffic and parking, in chapter 21, vehicles and traffic of the code of the Borough of Garwood, to revise the residential preferred permit parking zone and to revise the 2-hour parking zone by adding additional streets to each.
Thank you. Motion to introduce ordinance 15-09.
I'll make the motion to introduce ordinance 15-09, Mayor.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any discussion? Roll call, Ms. Ariemo.
Councilman Martin? Councilman Matthews?
Aye.
Councilman Petrozelli?
Aye.
Councilman Tarantino?
Aye.
Councilman Tedisco?
Aye.
And Council President Neerstedt?
Aye.
Public hearing on ordinance 1506, ordinance 1507, ordinance 1508 as advertised in the Cranford Chronicle on April 3rd, 2015. Ms. Ariemo, please read ordinance 15-06 by title only.
Yes, Mayor. An ordinance to amend Article 8B, Borough Administrator, in Chapter 5, Administration of the Code of the Borough of Garwood to establish the position of Assistant Borough Administrator and to prescribe the duties thereof.
Okay, have you received any correspondence concerning 1506?
I think this is, anyone,
We're not there yet.
Not here yet.
oh, I have none,
Let me do the list.
none there.
Does anyone present wish to be heard concerning ordinance 1506? Hearing none. Motion to close public hearing on ordinance 1506.
I'll make that motion, Mayor.
Second.
Motion to adopt ordinance 1506.
I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance 1506, Mayor.
Second.
Any questions or any discussion? Roll call, please, Ms. Ariano.
Councilman Martin. Councilman Matthews.
No.
Councilman Petroselli.
Aye.
Councilman Tarantino.
Aye.
Councilman Disco.
Aye.
And Council President Mearstad.
Aye.
Thank you. Ms. Ariano, please read ordinance 15-07 by title only.
Mr. Mayor, an ordinance to amend Article 8A, other offices and positions in Chapter 5 Administration, in the Code of the Borough of Garwood, to establish the Office on Aging in the Borough of Garwood and to prescribe the duties thereof.
Have you received any correspondence concerning ordinance 1507?
None, Mayor.
Does anyone present wish to be heard concerning ordinance 1507? You step to the microphone, sign in, and state your name and address.
Good evening, Mayor Lombardo,
Thank you, sir.
ladies and gentlemen of the council, Bruce Patterson, 325 Rural Avenue. Maybe I missed a meeting or something, this comes as a surprise to me.
You did. You did.
Remember
You
you were
had the-
sick?
And also,
Did?
you had the free open meeting one night?
Oh, it was a comment of yours.
Wow. Is it a good thing that we know you're
Yeah.
scheduled?
But thank you for
So
joining
well
us.
where you are.
We did miss you and we sent you a card. Did you get it?
I'm surprised you didn't vote on the budget then.
So you're not watching the video?
No, no,
No one
no,
told
no,
you?
no.
No, I
one told you?
Yeah.
His 3 minutes are running fast.
But, okay, now just a question, I mean, there's talking about positions, is there gonna be like new people hired, or, you know, because I guess I missed the meeting, so you guys must have discussed that.
So for this one, 1507?
1507, yes, it talks about positions, director, bus driver, handyman. I know we have a handyman,
It's all in place.
and we have a bus driver. And is the director,
Yes.
is that Paula?
Bruce, those positions are already established. We just didn't have it in our code correctly, so we're just correcting it. Those people already all work for us.
All right, who's the director?
Paulette,
Paulette is, okay.
Brogan,
Bus driver, I thought we had a couple of bus drivers.
Cheryl,
We have three bus
and
drivers.
Nina.
And,
Now you know Hansi's son.
okay, thank you, and I apologize for missing that one meeting.
Okay,
It was
thank
okay
you.
by us.
And you haven't been watching the tape?
Mo-
You wouldn't know, just saying.
Motion to close public hearing ordinance 1507.
Second.
Motion to adopt ordinance 1507.
Second.
Any questions or discussions? Roll call, please, Ms. Ariano.
Councilman Martin.
Aye.
Councilman Matthews.
Aye.
Councilman Petroselli.
Aye.
Councilman Tarantino.
Aye.
Councilman Disco.
Aye.
Council President Mearstad.
Aye.
Thank you. Ms. Ariano, please read ordinance 1508 by title only.
Mr. Mayor, calendar year 2015, ordinance to establish a cat bank.
Have you received any correspondence concerning ordinance 1508?
None, Mayor.
Does anyone present wish to be heard concerning ordinance 1508? Mr. Patterson?
He's gotta make up for lost time.
He's leaving now, I-
Yeah, definitely.
Hey, you don't pick up a minute and a half from your last speech.
Good evening, Mayor Lombardo, ladies and gentlemen of the council. Bruce Patterson, 325 Willow Avenue. Cat bank, this comes up every year, obviously. and,
That's correct.
And, you know, I do speak on it every year, and it was interesting, last year, I believe we did pass the cat bank. Previous to that, I know there was discussions, and I believe it's a 3-year average on the cat bank. And I think we did vote no for 3 years, where the money in the cat bank slowly disappeared as it was being set aside from the budget. Here we are back again with the cat bank. We did pass it last year. We're talking about $119,000, and just to the public, I mean, this isn't tangible money, it's just a possibility. You know, if you want to really explain to the public how the cat bank.
You're doing a great job, go right ahead.
All right, but anyway, but it's this possibility that if you have to go over the cap, you can actually dip into these extra monies, but they're not, you know, to use, which means it's actually additional taxation. This came up many times in the previous years, as I mentioned, and a couple of times it was voted no. Last year it was voted yes. So I mean, again, this year I'd like to see a no vote on this, showing that the budget is solid enough and has enough contingency or surplus, which actually increased from last year, and that you feel comfortable enough not to bring this to a vote, to an approval where it kind of becomes ominous that we're looking at this potential to tax more than what the cap allows. So I look forward to somebody bringing it forth that for dismissal of the ordinance. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Motion to close public hearing on ordinance 1508.
So moved.
Second.
Motion to adopt ordinance 1508.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, please. All right, so I know we talk about this every year, but I just have to say that although I will support this and vote yes, it's a very strange system that the state puts in place. I really don't understand it all that well, why they do it. I understand what it is and how it works, but why they do it, I really don't understand. But perhaps I have to ask the governor or some state legislators to figure that out, because they probably don't know why we do all that we do. So, anyway, I'm not in love with this system by any stretch of the imagination. However, it's one we work within. Basically, last year we were up against a wall where if we did not pass the cap bank, even though it was going to be the lowest tax increase in 12 years, we would not have been able to pass our budget. This year we're not quite in that same position, but if it were to fail, we would be next year. So, yeah, theoretically we can go back and forth each year. 1 year vote yes, 1 year vote no, 1 year yes, 1 no, I guess. But to me it does the same thing. It doesn't bring us to a referendum with the public. If you truly want a referendum with the public, then you would have to vote no every single year when you're up against a wall or when you're not up against a wall. So that's just my feeling about it. And I just wanted to correct the record about fund balance. Although we may have used more than last year, we left the same number in fund balance that we did last year. So we didn't bring it down any lower just because we used more. We just happened to generate more by a little bit, and we made sure we left it at the same level we did last year, trying to be responsible, especially with the bond sale, which Councilman Petrozelli will talk about later, but some very good news on that front. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Ms. Ariema, roll call.
Councilman Martin.
Aye.
Councilman Matthew.
No.
Councilman Petrozelli.
Aye.
Councilwoman Tarantino.
Aye.
Councilwoman Tedisco.
Aye.
Council President Niersted.
Yes.
Thank you. Council Standing Committee reports and other reports. Police, Councilwoman Tarantino.
Thank you, Mayor. Let's see. The police department has applied for grants to pay or offset the cost of a solar-powered radar warning speed signs to assist in addressing complaints of speeding on 4th Avenue between Westfield and Cranford. We had talked about that at last meeting. Also included was funding to replace lighted stop signs at Spruce and West with new solar-powered signs. The deadline for filing is April 30th, and we should receive a reply by June. The National Highway and Traffic Safety Agency has designated April as Distracted Driver Awareness Month. The Garwood Police will be patrolling with the Garwood Police will be patrolling with an extra emphasis on cell phone enforcement. Residents will see traffic trailer out in various locations displaying NHSTA's warning, "You drive, you text, you pay." So put the phones down. The Garwood Police Department urges all residents to drive safely at all times. And the last thing is our new officer, Zuena, has completed phase A of his training and is currently on phase B. Training is progressing on schedule, and his coach report says nothing but positive feedback. And that is all for my report, Mayor.
Thank you. Any discussion about the report? If not, we'll move on. Public Health, Council President Niersted.
Mayor, no report. The next meeting is next month. They've actually called a special meeting to enact the fee for the plan review. That ordinance will not be coming before this council as it's adopted by the Board of Health itself. And that's it, Mayor.
Thank you. Streets and Roads, Councilwoman Tedesco.
Thank you, Mayor. I think this is the first report all year I've been able to make where it's safe to not talk about snow anymore, which is good. Weekly yard waste collection is underway. This takes place on Wednesday of each week. The DPW has been busy hot patching potholes. If residents would like to report a pothole, they can contact Borough Hall or the Department of Public Works. Street sweeping has also begun, And that's all for my report, Mayor.
Thank you. Any discussion? Not, we'll move on. Council, I'm sorry. Council President Neerstead, I was going.
Mayor, thank you. I have made reports for the fire division the past 2 months. I actually have now received their reports for the past 2 months, so I'd just like to read very quickly. In February, there were 23 incidents, resulting in total man hours of 147 hours. And in March, they had also, I'm sorry, did I say that right? February was 23 incidents, and in March it was 12 incidents, resulting in 119 hours. And I say this each time, but just like to state to everybody that, you know, when you become the fire commissioner, you're lucky enough to get all the fire division requests that come in from other towns. And it is amazing, every I don't want to say every 2 weeks, I mean, you know, that's when I add them up, but they get called out a tremendous amount. People don't realize, I think I already mentioned they were called out, totally missed the Super Bowl, and they've totally missed other events, and 2 and 3 in the morning, so I'd just like to continue to commend them for their time. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, that's it.
Thank you. Any comments? Finance, Councilman Petroselli.
Thank you, Mayor. The finance report right now is on the bond sale. The borough recently issued general improvements bonds in the amount of $2,741,000 in order to permanently finance all outstanding short-term debt occurred since the last bond issue in 2003. The net interest cost of these new bonds will be 1.886683% over an 11-year period. Our bond issue was favorably received by the market. We achieved a near historical low in our interest rate due to, in part, to the relatively short length of the issue and our strong bond rating. 17 different bond ordinances from 2004 through 2014, previously funded by short-term notes, make up the new bond issue. These ordinances authorize various capital improvements such as equipment acquisitions, road projects, and also the new sports and recreation complex. Part of the bond issuance process involves obtaining a bond rating. The borough received a rating of AA stable from Standard & Poor's. Their recent report cited a very strong local economy and strong budgetary performance as factors in awarding these ratings. The fact that the borough is amortizing these debts rapidly also impressed Standard & Poor's. Most towns in the surrounding area have a rating of AAA, with the exception of Westfield and Summit, who have a rating of AAA. This is most likely due to their population, the size of their rateable base, and their larger number of commercial ratables. On March 31st, electronic bids via parity were received and reviewed by the CFO, and the successful bidder was determined to be Robert W. Braid and Company, the lowest net interest rate of 1.88%. The other bidders offered net interest rates of 2.08 and 2.24%. The bonds will mature in annual installments with a principal payment due each April and interest payable each October and April. The interest rate on these bonds is lower than projected, therefore the debt service cost will be lower than originally anticipated. The estimated savings in interest cost over the life of the issue is $54,207, which translates to approximately $3 per home each year. The CFO certification, which you all have received as part of your council mail, provides more detail on this recent bond sale. And if you have any further questions, just reach out to Sandy, our CFO. I have another piece to the finance report. On a matter I would like to update the council on with regards to the budget stemmed from a conversation with Council President Neerstead that we had. He inquired as to whether or not the planning board budget could be reduced by another $10,000. As they may not have to spend money in 2015 for the redevelopment of the paperboard site. However, taking this into consideration that the planning board has 2 legal matters pending this year, the finance committee does not feel it would be wise to reduce their budget as they have not allocated any money to these pending legal matters. That's all for my report.
Thank you. Any discussion? None. Carry on buildings and grounds, Councilman Matthew.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. We are actually going to be having our joint meeting with our counterparts at the Board of Education tomorrow at 7 o'clock at Lincoln School, and hopefully we'll get hammered out this issue about the custodial contract for the recreation center, okay? In that regard, too, the committee would like to recommend the adoption of the deleted resolution here, 15-183. If we could just insert 2 months there for the term. Tina was able to get for us a really good service from the Board of Ed, about $75 per week for twice-a-week cleaning, and we're going to extend that for 2 months while we're hashing this out, and hopefully that this will be giving us some feedback as we enter new territory, because I think that's kind of a bit of what's holding this up is, we're thinking it's one thing, they're thinking it's another, so hopefully we'll have some feedback from the first couple of cleanings. So we want to recommend an adoption of 15-183. That's all from our report.
Thank you. Any comments? Not move on. Laws and license, Councilman Norton.
No report.
Recreation, Councilwoman Tedesco.
No report, Mayor. Meeting's tomorrow night, 7 o'clock at the Rec Complex.
Thank you. Committee on Aging, Councilwoman Tarantino.
Thank you, Mayor. I've been reporting that we've had an issue, I've been trying to resolve an issue with the senior citizens on their bus schedule. And this week I met with Ms. Ariana and Mrs. DiStefano, one of the bus drivers. And we've made some progress on the matter, and more work needs to be done. And as a matter of fact, just before I came to the meeting, I received an email that we just assigned one more bus driver, which may help and resolve one of our issues. And the next senior citizen meeting is this Thursday at noon. That's all for my report, Mayor.
Thank you. Any discussion? Library Mayor's Representative, Councilman Petroselli.
Thank you, Mayor. The Garwood Library Board of Trustees announces the retirement of Carol Lombardo, the current library director, effective July 1st, 2015. Mrs. Lombardo has been the director since 1998 and was library assistant at the library since 1989. Since having earned her Master's of Library Science degree from Rutgers University in 1997, Mrs. Lombardo has endeavored to bring the Garwood Library up to date with technology by adding public access computers, online card catalog searching, Wi-Fi in the library, e-books for patrons to borrow, as well as a presence on the internet and Facebook. Hosted by the Library Board of Trustees, there will be a farewell reception for Mrs. Lombardo at the library on Saturday, June 27th from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. Light refreshments will be served. All borough residents are invited to stop in to bid farewell to Mrs. Lombardo, who has served the Garwood Library for over 25 years. The Library Board of Trustees has appointed Marion Duffy, a current library assistant at the library, as the new director, effective July 1st. Ms. Duffy has been employed at the Garwood Library for more than 10 years and is anxious to continue the work that has been started and to enhance services to the borough. This 21st annual summer reading theme is every hero has a story. All the details have not yet been finalized, but registration will begin on Wednesday, June 17th, with the program running for 7 weeks through Friday, August 7th. As the date nears, more information will be available from the library on the library's webpage and on its Facebook page. The program is open to Garwood children, all ages through grade 8. As long as you can read or be read to, you can participate in the program. During the summer, there will be a craft events for children going into 2nd grade and up on Tuesdays at 3 p.m. and kid-friendly movies on Thursdays at 2 p.m. Registration is required for the craft days, limited to 20, but not for the movie days. On Thursday, April 16th at 7 p.m., Walter Kroshevsky will present a program on Hollywood romance on and off the screen, highlighting some of Hollywood's most famous romances, those that lasted a lifetime and those that were brief or kept under the wraps. An entertaining visual program that is too short to surprise. Registration is required for this event and may be done at the library, by phone, or at the library's website. That's all from my report.
Thank you. Any comments? Hearing none, School Board Liaison, Councilman Matthew.
No report, Mayor. Our next meeting is going to be 21st.
Thank you. Celebrations of public events and holiday liaison, Council President Houston.
Thank you, Mayor. The Guard Celebrations Committee will be having its annual Memorial Day Remembrance Ceremony, as the mayor mentioned earlier, to remember those who lost their life serving in the military at the Knights of Columbus on Monday, May 25th at noon. Please join us. Hot dogs and soda will be served after the ceremony. The Celebrations Committee is collecting favorite recipes from people of our community to be published in a Garwood cookbook. If you'd like to contribute to the cookbook, please fill out the recipe form, making sure to include a title for your recipe and your name. You may download the form at www.garwood.org. Each recipe that is printed will feature the name of the contributor, so everyone can easily locate the favorite recipes of their friends and local residents. We expect to publish the cookbook this fall, and plenty of time to be available for holidays. Please submit your recipe to Borough Hall by June 1st or to Garwood Celebrations at garwood.org. That's it for my report, Mayor.
Thank you. Any comments? We'll continue on. Union County Air Traffic Noise Advisory Board Representative, Councilman Matthews.
No report.
Parking Committee, Councilwoman Tarantino.
Thank you, Mayor. As previously reported, we tentatively entered an agreement with Burger King for 36 parking spaces to be used as commuter parking, and we're waiting on some legal insurance language to be finalized on the agreement before we can sign off on it, and that is all for my report, Mayor.
Any discussion?
Just a question, Councilman Tarantino, we did bring up, the issue regarding parking by the recreation complex. How do we want to approach that?
I would think that would be signage, which would be police, which is still Councilwoman Tarantino.
It obviously will be, well, I shouldn't say obviously, I would assume that it'd be some type of amendment to the water license ordinance also. So, I'm not sure which committee you should go to, but I do think, particularly in response to residents' concerns tonight, which as Councilman Tedisco indicated, we fully expect changes to be made. We do need to address it. Well, how do you want to approach it?
Well, what concerns exactly about parking are you talking about?
I think we are going to have an issue with those residents who live closest to the facility, both on the east and west side, with people parking in front of their houses. And I don't have an answer. I'm not, but I'm just saying maybe it's something we should look at. I mean,
Right.
what does everyone think?
I agree.
I agree with you.
I think you're right.
Well,
I agree, but I would say too, as you mentioned, you live on Hickory Avenue. And so there's a large park there and there is no additional regulation to parking,
right, and
so.
that's where I was going with that, like, so we don't currently, so if you're going along the lines of commuter parking where we're not letting anyone besides resident park on the streets, we're not doing that in the Unami area.
I don't, like I said, I don't have a quick answer, okay?
Okay.
But what I will tell you is did have a resident, this really, really surprised me. The resident wasn't complaining about parking on Myrtle, he was actually complaining about speeding.
Okay.
And what he
Well, that's
said,
different, okay.
what he said was that if you go online and you type in, you Google 140 Myrtle, obviously Google gives you the directions via the major roads. So it has you coming down Lincoln and Cranford to south, getting to south and then making a left on New and making a right onto Myrtle. And people don't recognize that as soon as you come onto Myrtle, it's right in front of you. And they said that people actually, they've had incidents where people had to slam on brakes because they actually almost, I think it's considered a big white rock at the end, but, or the fence, but regardless, Chief, I don't know if you've had any comments from the neighborhood there. I mean, I need your opinion too. Is there a need to do something?
I have had some comments. My understanding also is that recreation is going to change the address to 165 so that
Oh,
so that
first I'm hearing this, but I.
Google, Google Maps or your GPS is going to bring you around the other way.
To the parking lot.
Yeah.
That's good.
So that's half the problem. The GPSs are bringing you in through New.
Okay.
So hopefully that'll correct a few things.
And just so you know, we may be talking about the same person, Bill, but I did receive a complaint from a resident on that cul-de-sac right there. The same thing, people parking all over the place and also speeding. I know that on the cul-de-sac in Hazel, what the people there tell me is very interesting. On people's GPSs, that shows that as a through street. And what they do is they come speeding down there thinking they're gonna go right through to Westfield. They get angry, slam on the brake, kick a K-turn, and then go rolling out there. So I wouldn't be surprised if something like that
Right.
also was occurring.
I think maybe some directional signs on South Avenue might be in order.
Right.
You can have them made up, much the same as what the YMCA wants to do. And then maybe some, just like your neighbor sign posted right on the dead ends. You know, quiet zone, a couple things.
Do we have a pedestrian crossing at New and Myrtle?
We definitely have one on
Maybe-
Oak
maybe-
and Myrtle, which I think is fabulous.
Oh, good, yeah.
Well, maybe if you can check into it, maybe we should, I realize that doesn't stop people, okay, but that at least would provide somebody with a sense or something. So maybe we can talk to Streets and Roads when we paint pedestrian crossings in the spring, we can add that to the list.
Yeah, well, one other thing I want to bring up too is that, you know, you can park on Rankin too, and it puts you right next to the park.
Exactly.
I think that's the biggest thing, is that people don't realize that you can park over there, and Rankin, I mean, as far as I've seen, like even on Saturday, there was maybe 3 cars over there. Everyone was trying to get as close as possible, but you have Rankin, and you can just walk right into the park.
And
So-
in fact, it's
so-
closer to certain fields over there than others
Right.
anyway.
Right, yeah, so I think that if the borough or a recreation commission can encourage people to park on Rankin as well, and I can relay that to the baseball league and have them maybe offer directions for people to say, hey, you know, parking is just not on Myrtle, it's also on Rankin, and then you can just walk in.
It's a good idea.
All right, so, Mr. Mayor, then, all these issues that have just been discussed, where are they going to go? What huge,
Sounds like I want to stay with the parking committee.
Personally, I don't feel it's just parking, I feel it's also the traffic flow. What I was thinking, I'm taking notes over here, police, I would think,
Right.
for all the things the chief just mentioned, and he has some good ideas that I think a committee needs to work with him on. Recreation Commission, I can discuss with them about encouraging visitors to park on Rankin, and as Streets and Roads Chair, I'll handle the paint for pedestrians, speak with the
Okay.
superintendent.
all right. Sounds good, Mayor, thank you.
Okay. Continue on, Police Negotiations Committee, Councilwoman Tarantino.
Thank you, Mayor. There was a mediation meeting this afternoon, and we will be going into an executive session at the end of this meeting, so the council can get an update. That is all from my report, Mayor.
Thank you. Administrative Review Committee, Councilwoman Tarantino.
Thank you, Mayor. We discussed a few topics at our last meeting this week that we're very excited about, but we are not ready to disclose to full council yet. We have a little more work to do, and when we are ready, we will present it. Thank
Oh,
you.
we are?
Thank you.
Just shows we are meeting.
Oh, we're definitely meeting, and we are
Oh, yeah.
talking, but everything's still being developed, so we're just not ready to talk that yet.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Historical Committee, Councilwoman Tedesco.
Thank you, Mayor. The Historical Committee will be looking for donations from interested Garwood families to sponsor historical photos in the meeting room of the Garwood Sports and Recreation Complex building. The donations will be used to pay for the frames, and all other proceeds will go to preserving Garwood's history. So far, 6 photos have been selected and hung up by the committee, but more will be going up in the near future. An article seeking such donations will be in the next issue of the Garwood Gazette, which I hear is coming out in a few weeks,
Yes.
which next couple of weeks.
Being reviewed right now by the editor.
Wonderful. And so we are planning on having our next meeting in May, and that's all for my report, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments on the Historical Committee report? If not, we'll continue on. Ms. Ariema, please read the officers' reports.
Chief of Police Bruce Underhill monthly report for March 2015. Zoning Code Enforcement Officer Lendy Stefano monthly report for March 2015. Municipal Tax Collector Aggie Fredwell monthly report for March 2015. Treasurer CFO Sandy Bruns report for bond sale. Municipal Court Administrator Martha Marino monthly report for March 2015.
Thank you. May I have a motion to accept the officers' report as presented?
I'll make a motion to accept the officers' reports as presented, Mayor.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to address the mayor and council? Please step to the microphone, sign in, and state your full name and address. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Mr. Patterson?
Good evening, Mayor Lombardo, gentlemen of the council, Bruce Patterson, 325 Willow Avenue. I mean, everybody spoke spoke on Councilman Matthews' letter, you know, on the issue of Italian heritage and bocce and everything like that. So, I mean, I do understand that, and I wanted to speak on an issue related to his letter, but not related to the other issue that everybody was here in front of the council in the workshop session. And it has to do with something, I visited this a couple of weeks ago, and the letter, I have a copy of the letter, and yes, he wrote the letter, and they signed it, Jim Matthew, Garwood GOP chairman. So he was writing this as the chairman, and he mentioned here during the meeting that, you know, he was speaking for his constituents. I don't know if all the constituents, Mike says no, but anyway, so he was speaking, so here we are, it was a political statement, it appears, and signed by the Garwood GOP chair, and what I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, so a lot of people showed up here in front of the council and talked to the mayor and council, when really this letter was signed by a political chairman. I was talking a couple of weeks ago about dual roles. One is a political chairman and the other is a councilman. And there we have the conflict of interest, where he's representing his constituents, the Republicans, and he also represents the rest of the public, and also as mayor and council, he represents the governing body. So there's a conflict of interest here, and I did ask Councilman Matthew to step down from his chair. See, he was a lightning rod, and he actually had all these people come here, and they more or less embarrassed the mayor and council for something that a political chair wrote a letter about, which is just wrong. I mean, you know, what I'm asking again, this is the second time, please pass the baton of your political chair to someone else in the political party, and therefore you can represent the public where, you know, your position should be as representative and councilman. So, you know, it was just tacky, the letter, you know, he wrote it. I write a lot of things myself, you know, some of them are tacky also, you know, so I can't say too much for it. But anyway, but that's my that's my request, and I think, you know, a dual role, conflict of interest, something should be done. I appreciate you voting no on the cat bank, so I mean, obviously, you're representing me, just on that issue. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else?
If I could just respond really quickly. I actually sent that into the Westfield Leader and forgot to sign it. They had added that. But I always sign my letters, Councilman James A. Matthew, and I occasionally put Garwood GOP chair. But Bruce, you don't have to worry about it. Liz is the real power behind me. I am a figurehead. I've already stepped down and passed down the baton, so thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else? Now we'll move on. Are there any resolutions that anyone wants deleted from the consent agenda?
Yes, Mayor, can we delete 15-182, please?
May I have a motion to adopt the amended consent agenda as presented?
Wait, he made a motion and I need a second. Right, Don?
No, he asked that I
Remove,
deleted.
I don't need a second on that, Bob?
No.
Okay,
Okay.
J.M. can remove it, okay.
Well, because it's not a consent item if everybody doesn't consent, so anytime anybody has to have anything removed from the consent agenda, it should be removed.
Okay.
Okay.
Mayor, if I could just ask you, I just have a question. I really don't want to remove them from the consent agenda. I just wanted to clarify on the record. Ms. Ariana got back to me on this, as did Sandy Bruns. 15-177, 78, 79, with the extra funds for the fencing and the pad for the shed that's going to be going down at the athletic field. Those are all going to be allocated to the athletic field fund, correct? I just wanted to make sure that that was everybody's understanding. Okay, good, because I know I spoke to Lou about the possibility of that pad coming from the buildings and grounds, but as your answer, it actually comes from the athletic field fund. Okay, that's
Okay,
it. That was
thank
just
you.
all I wanted.
As I said, may I have a motion to adopt the amended consent agenda as presented?
So moved?
Second?
Roll call, please, Ms. Ariana.
Councilman Martin?
Aye.
Councilman Matthew?
Aye.
Councilman Pedroselli?
Aye.
Councilman Tarantino?
Aye.
Councilman Tedisco?
Aye.
Council President Anderson?
Aye.
This, no.
No?
No. Because he this comes first.
Okay.
Then this. This is the one, this is.
Right, okay. I have a motion to adopt resolution 15-182.
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution 15-182, Mayor.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I have a question, and I do appreciate the efforts that people have taken to enlighten me on this. I'm thoroughly confused about why we're selecting this company for this no bid contract. My understanding was, and the name of the company is Equipment Rental Services LLC. Originally, my understanding was that this was related somehow, or that we were gonna be using Great Northern. And I know Mr. Menard discussed this, I know Mr. Patterson wrote this on his blog, and I know we've discussed it, that it was gonna be Great Northern or an affiliated entity. I read in the Westfield Leader that it was owned by the son of the principal of Great Northern. Now I understand there's no relationship between this company and Great Northern. And what I'm just trying to figure out is, why did we pick this company for a no-bid contract to do our recycling?
I don't want to answer for the, I mean, the immediate response is they had the low quote.
And I would have to say that saying that there's no relationship, we can't know for certain what the relationship is. So I would characterize it as we're uncertain about the relationship between Great Northern and Equipment Rental. At least I feel uncertain about it.
I share your uncertainty.
Right,
yeah.
and I don't really think it's our business what their relationship is. If it's the son, if it's not. The Westfield Leader said that, picking it up from a meeting, but, you know, Ms. Ariam and I talked about this. She speaks to one contact. Who's to say, did he say, this guy's my son? Did he say, he's like my son? I mean, it's a he said, she said. So I don't really think it's that important in terms of voting on this resolution.
So here's my question, what, do they do recycling?
But we have used them before, we use them for our bulk.
For bulk, but my question, Lou, is do they do recycling?
And the answer is yes. We did check into it, and they actually have, they service 22 other facilities.
So they service 22 other facilities for recycling?
Yeah.
Okay, so I was just very confused. Again, we had this whole big kerfuffle last meeting about it being Great Northern or a related entity, but now we're being told that it's, well, it's really not, it's the people that do our bulk. So it just, to me, it just seems, I'm thoroughly confused. And again, just the name of the company, I know Mr. Renaud and I discussed this, you know, we're replacing a company named Waste Management, okay, I know what they do, with a company called Equipment Rental Services. And all I can find online about them is renting equipment. It just seems to me it's kind of strange, and my concern is morphed from the ones I had last meeting, although I still have them, to this meeting, is does this company have the competency to go ahead and do this? That's what I'm concerned about.
And Jim, Mr. Mayor, I shared your concerns, and it's funny you should phrase it the way you did, because, yeah, you and I both learned what waste management does. I don't like the way they manage the waste. You know, what we're learning is how much they actually dump in the landfills, how much they actually bring to incinerators. So, you're right. I don't dispute anything you're saying there. I've done some research. You know, we found out about the 22 the facilities. They have been around a long time. I did hear about the relationship at the last meeting too. And basically, you asked the question. I totally understand it. You know, why are we picking them? We're picking them because they're the low bidder, and that's. I apologize. You are correct. So low quote, and that really is. You know, we want to get back on the 6 month. We want to get back on the calendar. Get back on the, and this is we'll do it. Waste Management wanted. I forget, was it $40,000? $30-some thousand. $28. Okay. So the reason we're doing it is because it's simply the low quote, and we want to get back on the calendar.
And Bill, in your research, are you, and I'm just asking the question,
Sure.
Are you confident that they're going to be better at actually recycling the waste and waste management?
I always go back, and Jim, I'm not avoiding the question, but I always go back to NASA. You know, we send a space rocket up into the sky and whole thing is built at a low quote. You know, everything in there is low bid. I'm as confident as they are. And I'm not trying to avoid the question. It's like, you know, I've been doing, hey, I work for government. Sometimes you look at these quotes and you just wonder. Not to get all caught up in it, but, recently we had a quote where there was a difference. Don mentioned tonight that the bidders regarding the road were pretty close. We had bidders recently that they were separated by $300,000. The athletic field, well, I shouldn't say that, recreation complex. What was the difference in the bids there?
About 200,000.
About 200,000. So, am I
But then
confident?
do we go back
I
and
hope.
research them and see,
Their competency.
do we not just go with a low quote, or do we go back and see their competency on everybody that we go get a quote from? Why is it just?
We don't. I'm just concerned that we have a company, even like I said, Great Northern Recycling, wasn't crazy about bringing it back, but it's Great Northern Recycling. And we've actually used them in the past. That kind of makes sense to me. Equipment Rental Services LLC, I just didn't know anything about them, and it just differed. And we have used them in the past, but not for recycling. So what I'm just saying is, it just marked me down as thoroughly confused as I tried to just follow the history here, because I understood this as one thing, and it seems to me everybody else understood it as one thing at the beginning, that we were bringing back Great Northern. I mean,
I didn't, I knew it was equipment rental the whole time.
and there was no, Great Northern had nothing to do with it. That was your-
I heard the name, but not as the same company. So, but anyway,
I just find this strange.
I just want to add, I do agree with you. I do find the names of the companies very odd. And I can completely understand where you're coming from with that. However, with what Councilwoman Tarantino's getting at here, with competency, there's only so much we've done with other companies.
Right.
So, for example, if, we use plumbing services, for example, okay? We don't know for sure, is this plumber the best plumber and this one is not? And even if we did have some knowledge, sometimes in government, you can't necessarily use that knowledge. So I'm questioning you, do you have any knowledge that you want to
I
share
just don't.
specifically, or is this just
I
based
don't
off of the
question,
name?
I don't care about it being the best or even good.
Right.
I just want to know they do it.
Right, well,
That's
you
all,
know what?
and I think that's a bit of a
Right.
gig.
And I get
Because
that.
we got recycling, and
Right.
come Thursday, when I put it out in front of my house, I want to make sure somebody's gonna pick it
Right.
up, that's
Right.
all.
Might
One
be
would
a-
hope when they
Yeah.
submit all their paperwork and they've, the administrator has looked at it, I believe
Money's
Mr.
open.
Renaud has, looked at it, or you've spoken about the, the paperwork
And we have
that
to
they
remember
basically
that one
put
of
in.
saving grace is only 6 months contract. So
That is a
it's
good
one of the
point, too.
saving grace.
And also, we have to say with waste management, I know Councilman Petrozelli always shares stories with me about that. We don't need to get into it, but basically,
Please.
I'm not giving them back their can. That's fine.
there we go.
Well, I mean,
4 times, right?
even right now, I mean, from a dollar sign to this, okay? Waste management came in at 28,000, these guys came in at 16, it's $11,000 and change. When we just did the boiler, we went with the higher contractor or the higher price contractor. I mean, that guy was $1,000 more, but we went with the higher one. Why? I don't know, because we just did.
Well, because we knew them, no, it wasn't because we just did, we went with them because we knew them.
Well, we knew.
We had a
that-
relationship with them.
Right, but there
And
was
we know
another
we-
bidder who was blind plumbing and heating. It
Yeah, we
wasn't like
weren't, yeah.
they were, sheet rock and drywall and they wanted to replace the boiler.
Geez, Lou, you're on the committee, and I discussed this with you, I'm a little I'm a
think-
little upset at your recollection here. Basically, what we did is we deferred to the recommendation of Fred, because Fred said, listen, I got a quote from these guys, but I picked them out of the yellow pages. I have a relationship with the Cranford Plumbing and Heating, and they're $850 more. Case closed in my book.
At this point, I have to refocus back to the vote.
Before we get to the vote, I just have to point this out. The first one is equipment rental, we do have a relationship with. They do our bulk. Have we had any complaints about them?
Absolutely not.
Okay, thank you. Although different service, I totally understand, at least our past practice with them is they have not caused a problem. I find it particularly interesting, as someone not on the Buildings and Grounds Committee, that the councilman that's the chairman of Buildings and Grounds accepts 2 quotes from the superintendent of public works, is comfortable going with a higher one, does not question the ability of either vendor, but now when it's the administrator presenting with us with 2 quotes.
No, you're completely wrong in your facts. Councilwoman Tedisco, you can't just make this stuff up. Basically what I did is I deferred to Fred. If there were, and again, you were at these meetings, either you're making this up or you have a very poor memory. If there were a $5,000 difference, I said to Fred, you're gonna get some serious pushback from my colleagues to why you didn't go with the guy in the yellow pages. $850 to fix up a blown boiler in February, I'm gonna defer to you, and so did Councilwoman Tarantino, and so did Councilwoman
And I
Petrozelli.
voted for that, so I do have
Yeah,
a
so
perfectly fine working memory.
I just
But
wanna
I'm
make sure this
making
guy's
the-
recycled. That's why,
Okay, I want to call for roll call. It's a,
forgive me.
I'm sorry, I just had to make the comparison, it just, the two really do go hand in hand, but.
Sorry,
Forgive my
roll call,
impertinence,
please.
I wanna make sure they actually provide the service.
Well,
They do.
We're having a vote right now. That's enough. Yes.
Councilman Martin. Councilman Matthew.
No.
Councilman Petrozelli.
Aye.
Councilman Tarantino.
Aye.
Councilman Disco.
Aye.
And Council President.
Aye.
And the next one I don't have to read, because it's already presented.
That's correct. May I have a motion to adopt resolution 15-183?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please. Ms. Ariano.
Councilman Martin. Councilman Matthew.
Aye.
Councilman Petrozelli. Councilman Tarantino.
Aye.
Councilman Disco.
Aye.
Council President Pierce.
Aye.
Is there any new business for the mayor and council may have at this point?
Mayor, I do.
Yes.
A resident brought to our attention conflict of interest between a council person holding the hat, wearing the hat of council person as well as chairman of a political party. So I am happy to hear that you will no longer be the chairman of the GOP.
I'm a figurehead. I'm a figurehead.
Okay. But I do have to say that when you wrote that letter, I feel as though when you did hold both hats, you should have been very clear as to who you were writing as. Or be full disclosure and show that you are the chairman, or at the time you were the chairman, and that you were also a councilman, because I'm not going to get into the other comments, they were addressed quite thoroughly earlier in the meeting. But your last sentence here, but never fear, I'm sure Garwood's Borough Council is up to the task of spending it and more. Basically saying that we are a tax and spend council. Yet, when signed by GOP chairman, I would say there's a good number of residents in this town that could not name every single person that sits on this dais. Not even the mayor, sorry, mayor.
You're right.
I don't mean it as an insult.
They still think I'm on town.
So if I'm a resident that doesn't know all the council people and who the mayor is, or even, none at all, or some of them, doesn't really matter. If I read that, I would think that you are not a part of this council. And I think this continues to fuel the fire of the fact that you are a member of this council, yet you basically, for lack of better words, badmouth us every chance you get. And this letter makes it seem like you do not sit on this council. And I'm also taken aback by your comment earlier in tonight's meeting when you said, when a resident approached you and said, seems like you're always arguing with the council, and you said, that's my job. My job is to argue. Well, I'm sorry. I don't view my seat on this dais as I'm coming here to argue with my fellow council members. I come here to work hard for the town. I come here to have discussion with my fellow council members, to agree with them and to disagree with them, not to argue with them. I think there's a total difference between disagreeing with a fellow council person and arguing with them. So this letter, the mentality that's been expressed on this dais, I'm really taken aback by. And I hope it stops. I really do.
Well said. Well said. A special discussion is what happened.
And Mayor, I've been quiet, and I can't either because I'm not Italian, I'm Irish and German. People tell me I'm 100% German. My wife's Italian, and she was upset by it. And a comment that was made to me on the way out here tonight was that found it interesting that it's not appropriate to have wine and beer at an adult meeting, but it is appropriate to insult ethnic groups. I found that to be an interesting analogy. I too wish it would, the cantankerousness would stop. I wish we worked together. When I first got on the council, I made the mistake of not working through committees and trying to do stuff on my own. And I recognized that it's not how you get it done. And I would just ask Jim that I know you're a minority of one, and I know it's difficult. I do understand that. But I would really ask that you refrain from writing
derogatory letters like this, and at least try to work with the rest of us to advance the best interest of the borough.
This is new business, Mayor?
It was in, the letter was in the paper last week, Jim, yes, I believe it's new business, the first time this body is able, it's the first time this body is able to discuss it.
Anything else? We'll move on. As read before, we have proclamations. National Library Week, April 12th through the 18th. Earth Day, April 22nd, 2015. Ms. Ariema, please read the payment of claims resolution.
Yes, Mayor, be it resolved, the following claims as approved be and the same are hereby ordered paid when properly signed and verified, and payment of payroll as listed is hereby confirmed and ratified.
I have a motion to adopt payment of claims.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please, Ms. Ariema.
Councilman Martin. Councilman Matthews.
Aye.
Councilman Petrozelli.
Aye.
Councilwoman Tarantino.
Aye.
Councilman Tedisco.
Aye.
Council President Mearstead.
Aye.
Ms. Ariema, please read executive session resolution number 15-184.
Closed session resolution authorizing the executive session for the purpose of discussing contract negotiations between the Borough of Garwood and Garwood PBA Order number 117 and matters attorney-client privilege relating to the above and in accordance with NJSA 10-4-12. Closed session meetings open to the public, exclusion of public subject of matter. Whereas, it is necessary for the mayor and council of the Borough of Garwood to conduct an executive session in the public in order to discuss the above listed matters. Now therefore be it resolved that the council of the Borough of Garwood hereby moves to go into executive session in accordance with the provisions of the closed meeting act. For the purpose of discussing the subject stated above, be it further resolved that the matters discussed and the minutes of this closed session shall be disclosed to the public when the reason for confidentiality no longer exists.
I have a motion to adopt resolution number 15-184. So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please. Roll call,
Councilman
Ms.
Martin. Councilman Matthews.
Aye.
Councilman Petrozelli.
Aye.
Councilwoman Tarantino.
Aye.
Councilman Tedisco.
Aye.
Council President Mearstead.
Aye.
Please note that we will exit executive session and action may be taken in open session.
Shall we all
Yeah.
finish our business?